Hello guys. So today we'll see how to install your Hadoop in a pseudo distributed mode inside this operating system CentOS 6.4 that we have installed in the earlier videos using your Cloud Era package CDH4. So let's first understand the steps that we would be following. So the very first step is to download the CDH4 package. You can get this package from this link. The next step is to install that package, install the basic RPM file. So basically for this purpose, we would be running a simple yum command. So the command will flow like yum hyphen hyphen no gpg check local install and the name of this package. Then the next step is to go ahead and actually install your Hadoop in the pseudo distributed mode. So for the command for the command for this is your yum install Hadoop dash 0.20 dash conf dash pseudo. Okay. Now make sure that you do a sudo before all these commands. Now we'll go and actually start the installation and configuration. So I'll go to terminal. The first thing I need to do is add my user in the sudoers list. So what I'll do is I'll say first I'll become the root. And now I'll say vi slash etc slash sudoers. So this is the file wherein you can add the sudo users. So I'll hit I on my keyboard so that I get into the insert mode. Scroll down till the point where you see the root, something related to the root, and here it is. So now here I'll append one more line saying that from now on my learner is also a sudoer. I'll press escape colon WQ, and as this is a read-only file, so I'll have to forcefully save it. So I'll say WQ exclamation mark and save it. So now my learner user has also become this thing sudoer. So I can exit from the root. Okay, now let's follow these steps. So now what I have to do is I have to download the CDH4 package. So I've already downloaded it from this link, and after the download is ready, you have to paste this particular package inside your root folder, which is your learner's home. So I have done that also. So I've already copied it to this particular location. So I'll just take the name so that I can use it for further reference. Okay, so the next step is, now we have downloaded the package. The next step is to install the package. So I'll say sudo yum hyphen hyphen no gpg check local install and the name of the package. and I'll execute this command. So it's asking for the password because this is the first time you're using your learner as a sudoer. So it is asking for the password. So give the same password that you use for login, which is your learner. Okay, so it's at this point it's saying that some other application is using the yum command. So what you can simply do is cancel this operation here and say kill -9 and the process ID, which is 2497. So that ID is kill. Interesting. So here it is showing that there is no such process, but this process is currently holding us. So maybe it has completed it. So let's see whether it allows us to execute it now. Yes. So by the time we actually went to kill that particular process, the process had already ended. So now we have executed the command again, and as you can see, the package is getting installed. So it is asking for a affirmative, confirmative response from your side. So just say yes and hit enter again. So in a couple of minutes, it will install the package, and the second step for us also will be completed. And then we would be remaining with only one step, that is installing our Hadoop in a pseudo distributed mode. So even this is done now. So the next step is to install our Hadoop in a pseudo distributed mode. So I'll say sudo yum install Hadoop hyphen 0.20 hyphen conf hyphen sudo, and I'll execute this command. Again, it's asking for confirmation, so say yes. So this will take another 5 to 6 minutes. Once this is done, you would be ready with your Hadoop installation. But remember, what we are doing here is just installing Hadoop. The configuration of Hadoop in your pseudo distributed mode will start after this. So once this is done, then we will go and start our configuration, and then we'll start our 5 daemons, that is your name node, data node, job tracker, task tracker, and secondary name node inside this single virtual machine. So that is what your pseudo distributed mode is all about. So talking more about your pseudo distributed mode, so basically Hadoop works in three different modes. So one is a local job runner mode, wherein no processes of HDFS or Hadoop are basically used, and it is not in any sense a Hadoop thing. But what you can do is using a local job runner mode is test your MapReduce programs before they're actually deployed on the cluster. So this gives an ease to test your MapReduce program. The second mode is your pseudo distributed mode. So in this mode, all your 5 daemons, the master as well as the slave services, they all run in the same server. So basically, this kind of a mode is good for testing purposes, but it is not going to take you far. By the time it is asking us for confirmation, so again we'll say yes, and again yes. Okay, so the pseudo distributed mode is good for testing and learning purposes, but it is not going to take you too far because it depends on the processing capability of a single server. And then you have a third mode, which is a distributed mode, in which is the actual mode which is used in the production environments, in which your master and slave services run on independent machines. Okay, so now after this is done, we will start the configuration in the pseudo distributed mode. Okay, so as we can see now, our Hadoop is successfully installed. Hadoop is successfully installed, and just a check, just to verify whether it is actually properly installed or not, what we will do is we'll verify the package installation. So I'll say rpm -ql Hadoop hyphen 0.20 hyphen conf hyphen sudo. And as you can see here, it lists you all the files that were present inside this particular package. So most important for you is the three configuration files, which is core site.xml, HDFS site.xml, and mapred site.xml. Apart from these three files, if you see the log4j.properties and the readme file and the configuration file, of course, then you can be sure that yes, your Hadoop package is successfully installed on your pseudo distributed mode. So now we can clear this up and go for configuring our Hadoop cluster. So basically now this is the first time that we are building our cluster. So, the name node being the brain of our system, brain of our Hadoop cluster, it is necessary to check that there is no bad data present inside the name node, no developer data present inside the name node. So the first step is to format your name node. And remember that this is the first and only time when you would be formatting your name node in the entire lifetime of your cluster. Because if you format your name node after this, after starting the usage of your Hadoop cluster, after putting some data, after executing some programs, then if you try to format your name node, then what will happen is you will lose all the mappings and your cluster will become inaccessible. So this is the first and only time when you would be installing, when you will be formatting your name node. So I'll say sudo -u HDFS name node format. So basically using this command, what we are doing is we are formatting your name node service of HDFS on behalf of the user HDFS by being a sudo. So I'll say sudo -u HDFS name node format. So it's asking for the password. So give the same password that you use for login and not the root's password. So this time it is learner, LEARNER. Okay. So now if you can see here, your storage directory is successfully formatted and it has also shut down your name node service. So now your name node is successfully formatted. So the next step is to start your HDFS services. So basically what we would be doing is first we would be starting your HDFS, then we would be creating some directories that are specific for your MapReduce operations, and then we would start our MapReduce services. There's a simple reason. You cannot get salary until and unless you have a bank account. So before getting the map reduced salary, what I'm trying to do is first take a bank account so that I can create some directories into it. So the first step is to start your HDFS services. So I'll say for service in /etc /init.d slash Hadoop star do sudo dollar service stop and then done. So basically, this is just a check that no services are running. So first we'll stop all of them and then we'll first start the HDFS services and then the MapReduce services. So now just time to start your HDFS related services. So instead of the stop, I'll say start, and instead of Hadoop star, I'll say Hadoop HDFS hyphen start. So now if you can see, it shows that it's starting your Hadoop data node, your Hadoop name node, and your Hadoop secondary node. Now here please make a note that This OK does not mean that your services have properly started. It just means that this particular command has been executed successfully or with errors. It is logged inside this particular directory. But this does not mean that it is successfully executed. It means that it is executed either successfully or with errors that is logged in here. So now what you have to do is, for the confirmation that your services have actually started, you will go to the browser, and inside the browser you will type localhost 50070, and here is your name node browser. Now localhost 50070, it is the default HTTP address for your name node. So now if you can see here, your name node has started. And if you go in the bottom part wherein you have your cluster summary, then you can see that there are one live nodes present inside your name node, which means there is one data node available. So if I click in here, I would be able to see that, okay, I have live data nodes number 1, and as it is in the pseudo mode, so the name is localhost. So good. So now we have successfully started all the three services related to HDFS. Now let's go and create some directories. So the first thing is, we would be creating the temp directory. See, if you don't create the temp directory properly with the right permissions, we may have problems with the Hadoop installation or the Hadoop configuration. So it's really necessary that we create the temp directory properly with the proper permissions. So what I'll say is sudo -u HDFS Hadoop's file system. Inside Hadoop's file system, what you have to do is create a directory by name /temp. Next is, I'll again say sudo -u HDFS Hadoop FS, change the permissions on the temporary directory in a recursive order, give it read write execute permissions on the temp directory. So now the permissions are properly set for the temp directory and the temp directory is created. Now it's time to create some MapReduce system directories. So I'll say sudo -u HDFS Hadoop's file system make directory -p /var/lib/Hadoop HDFS slash cache slash mapred slash mapred slash staging. So make sure that you don't have any typos in here. So once typed, recheck it that it's properly written. So it's sudo -u HDFS Hadoop FS minus hyphen mkdir hyphen p /var/lib/Hadoop hyphen HDFS, and see we have a catch in here that after this it's a slash. So it's Hadoop hyphen HDFS slash cache slash mapred/mapred/slash teaching. So please reconfirm it twice before executing it, because if you have some mistakes in here, then your MapReduce services won't start. So now I'll hit an enter and execute this particular command. Okay. So next up, now I have to change the ownership as well as the permissions on this entire directory structure. So what I'll say is sudo -u HDFS Hadoop FS, change the permissions, again give it read write execute to this entire structure. So it's var lib Hadoop hyphen HDFS slash cache slash mapred/mapred/staging. Okay. Next up, what we have to do is we have to change the ownership of this mapred directory and give the ownership to the mapred user. So I'll say sudo minus u HDFS Hadoop FS change owner hyphen R, give it to mapred user, the permissions on the ownership to var lib Hadoop HDFS cache slash mapred. So just to be double sure, what we'll do is we'll verify the directory structure. So we'll verify the HDFS file structure. So we'll say sudo minus u HDFS Hadoop fs minus ls minus r slash. So this is how your directory structure should look like. You should have a folder in the root called as temp. Again, you should have a folder in the root called as var, then lib, Hadoop HDFS, cache, mapred, and staging. Till cache, you should have your HDFS as the supergroup, and for mapred, and staging, you should have mapred as the supergroup. If this directory structure is correct, means you have successfully and properly created the MapReduce specific system directories. Now you can go ahead and start the services related to MapReduce. So what I'll say is this time for service in slash etc slash init dot d slash Hadoop hyphen 0.20 hyphen MapReduce hyphen star. For service in slash etc slash init dot d Hadoop 0.20 MapReduce do pseudo service start and done. So now this should start your two services, which is your job tracker and your task tracker. Okay. Now again, this OK does not mean that your services have successfully started. So let's go to the browser and verify if the services are properly started. So this time we will say localhost 50030. So this localhost colon 50030 is your default HTTP address for your MapReduce. So now if you can see here, this is your job trackers page, and this job tracker says that it has one node running in there. This means your task tracker is also running in there. So this is the page. So this is the page from where the developer would be interested, from where he'll come to know about all the running jobs, the completed jobs, the failed jobs, the cancelled jobs, and all the stuff. And this is the place wherein the admin would be interested, where he'll come to know that, okay, these many data nodes are up and running and these many data nodes have some problem. If you want to check your HDFS, which is the Hadoop distributed file system, you can just click on browse the file system, and this is your directory structure. Okay. Okay. So now what we have done so far is we have successfully started all the 5 daemons of your Hadoop. So all basic 5 services have been started, namely your name node, data node, secondary name node, job tracker, and task tracker. So next step, what we'll do is we'll create a directory for our user, our Linux local user, which is the learner inside your HDFS, so that we can freely go and execute our programs in there. So after this, we won't be required to write again and again that sudo minus u HDFS stuff. So for that reason, what we'll do is we'll create a default directory for our own user, our own Linux user, which is the learner. So I'll say sudo minus u HDFS Hadoop FS mkdir slash user slash learner. And then we'll give the ownership of this directory to our learner user. So I'll again say sudo minus u HDFS Hadoop FS change owner learner slash user slash learner. Okay. Now the Cloudera package gives you an example program so that you can run it and verify the installation before you actually go and start working with your own stuff. Because when you start working with your own stuff and then something goes wrong, it would be a hectic thing to come back. So before actually starting with your own work, it's good that we verify it, the installation properly. So we have a sample program, but for running the sample program, what we are required is to have some files that we can test as an input. So what we'll do is we'll first go and quickly create an input file. So I'll go to applications, I'll open the editor and I'll type some information into it. So I'll say wisdom sprouts is a learning curve. Wisdom is gained in here. Wisdom has the highest authority. Wisdom is good. So we'll be having, okay. So now I'll save this file inside my learners directory, learners home, and I'll name it as mm, test.txt. I'll save it. Just go in here and check whether we have it. So we have the file test now. Okay, so next up we'll create a directory inside the HDFS now. Now observe this. So this time what I simply said is instead of sudo minus u HDFS or HDFS Hadoop FS, I simply said Hadoop FS minus mkdir input. And if I try to see this Hadoop FS minus ls, then you can see that your input directory is created. And if I do the Hadoop FS minus ls slash user slash learner, then you will see the same result. This tells us that your user learner has become the default directory for your HDFS. Okay, so now our input directory is also created. Now it's time to copy that test file which we created inside your Linux file system into the input directory that we have created inside your Hadoop file system. So now I'll say Hadoop FS minus put slash home slash learner slash test into input. Okay. So now let's see whether it's copied or not. Hadoop fs minus ls slash input. Okay, now let's check the content inside the test file. So I'll say Hadoop fs minus cat input slash test. Okay, so we have the content in here. So the next step is to run the default or sample program provided by the Cloudera package. So I'll say slash user slash bin slash Hadoop. What is to follow is a jar file, and the location of the jar file along with the name of the jar file is user lib Hadoop hyphen 0.20 hyphen map reduce slash, this is the name, Hadoop examples dot jar file. Now what is going to follow is the name of the main class, which is grep. Now please make a point in here that this grep is not the Linux grep command. This grep is nothing but the name of the main class. The operations that this program is going to perform is something similar to a grep command, but this name grep is not a keyword, it's a name of the main class. So basically we know that in a jar file we have three classes, which is your main class, map class, reduce class, and a main class which will define the locations of your map class as well as your reduce class. So this is the name of your main class. Then I'll specify the name of my input folder, that is input, and I'll specify an output folder name also. And then we'll specify another parameter which will tell what is the regular expression or what is the pattern that is to be searched inside the file which is present inside your input directory. So I'll be starting or I'll be searching anything which starts with W followed by any alphabets between A to Z occurring at least once, and I'll hit enter. So now your job ID 0001 has started, in which map and reduce phases has started. So at this point your map is 0, reduce is 0, and in some time you can see, you will be able to see the progression. So it's completed 100%. So even reduce will complete at 100%. So now you can see an internal, we submitted one program, but the program internally has called one more job, which is job 0002. So basically this grep works in two phases. One is the grep search and one is the grep sort. So the earlier one was a grep search for you and the later one was a grep sort. Now what I'll do is I'll see whether the output directory and everything is created. So I can do it in two ways. I can either do it from the terminal or I can directly do it from the browser. So from the terminal, I'll just say Hadoop fs minus ls, then output. Okay, so now I can see that inside my output directory, three files have been dumped. One is the underscore success, one is the underscore logs, and the next one is your actual output file, which is part hyphen 5 times 0. So let's see what's inside this. So I'll say Hadoop fs minus ls, not minus ls, hyphen cat output slash part hyphen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 0. And this is what we have inside your file. So if you can go and see inside your file, that what we have is word starting with W is 4 times. So this is wisdom, again wisdom, again wisdom, and again wisdom. Now what we can do is we can go to the browser and verify the same output in there also. So I'll refresh this. I'll go to user, learner. This is my input directory and my input file. And this is my output directory and my output file. If I go in the map reduce section, then I'll be able to see that, okay, the completed jobs are 2 here, and this is what happened, the grep search and the grep sort. So with this guys, we have successfully installed and configured and also verified your Hadoop installation in a pseudo distributed mode using the Cloud Era package CDH4 on your CentOS 6.4. So this is it. So that's it for this video. See you next time around guys. Thanks.